indexed annuity. And here in a minute, I'll be turning the program over to Bob Kelson, Vice President of Independent Annuity Sales for Forethought Life. Bob will take us through the features and benefits of the Income 150 Plus, and well as some additional benefits in working with Forethought. I want to remind everybody that we're in listen-only mode, so please use the question dialog box that is there on your screen. If you'll submit your questions that way, we'll feed them to Bob, and we're probably going to hold those questions till the end of the presentation. But I want to assure you, if you do have a question, we'll make sure that if we fail to answer it during the webinar, we'll get back to you and get you the information you need. Bob, I recently was reviewing LIMRA's Secure Retirement Institute, the 2014 annuity sales results, and saw Forethought was listed in the top 10 for last year's fixed annuity production. What's vaulted the company to that kind of premium growth? Bob, are you there?
Yep, I was there. Sorry, I was muted out there for a second. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so we have new ownership here at Forethought under Global Atlantic, which I'll highlight during my presentation. And Global wants to get very aggressive in the annuity space, both on the variable annuity side as well as the fixed annuity side. The big reason for the success in 2015, one is our fixed annuity product, our MIGA product, which is a 3, 5, and 7-year duration product, which is, for most of 2014 was very hot and still is very competitive. And certainly on the indexed annuity side, it's all about the Income 150 Plus, which is the reason for the call. So I believe this is a very, very timely webinar that we're hosting, and I'm looking forward to talking more about it. Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob, you there? I can't hear anything now. Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, the line went dead for a minute or so. Hey, Rob, is the show mine? Should I kick it off, or?
Yeah, no, we're going. We're rolling.
Okay. Hey, I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy day today to listen to the Forethought story. I appreciate Great Plains taking the opportunity to invite me to speak to you all this morning about the Income 150 Plus. As Rob mentioned, my name is Bob Kelson. I'm the Director of National Accounts for Forethought on their indexed annuity side. And today's presentation shouldn't take more than 20 to 25 minutes, and I'll do my best to wrap it up by about 1:25 Eastern Time. And certainly we can do a little Q&A at the end if time allows. As they mentioned, when they kicked off the call, all lines are muted out. We have a sizable group this morning, so take advantage of that chat feature on the right-hand side of the screen in the control panel. Type in your question to me. I'll address your question during the presentation, or if I don't get to it, we'll do it between 1:25 and 1:30 Eastern. So the agenda today is who is Forethought, and I actually want to rename that agenda item to why not Forethought. We are the best kept secret in the industry, and word is quickly getting out. Why the Income 150 Plus? As we talked about briefly at the start of the call, we've been having some tremendous success here at Forethought on the fixed annuity side, both on the MIGA space and on the indexed annuity space. I want to talk in detail, where does the 150 Plus fit? Where are the sweet spots of the product, and what's in it for you as a producer? And if time allows, how can we help? Specifically with that agenda item, I want to address some tools that we have online to make doing business with Forethought more smooth, and certainly I do want to talk about suitability. Every carrier treats suitability differently, so I want to make sure you know what our hot buttons are with respect to our process. So let's talk about who is Forethought, or why not Forethought? Forethought entered the index annuity space back in 06, 07. And if you're a producer and you know Forethought's reputation, you know that we are hyper competitive in the guaranteed income space. We have 3 or 4 products that compete in the early income space, and we define that as the first 10 or 12 years of deferral. If you have a client that's looking for income and they're planning on activating income within the first 10 or 12 years, depending on the age of that client and when they want to trigger that benefit, will dictate what product works best for them. So that's our sweet spot, the early income space, and certainly the income 150 plus fits that mold as well. What I do want to talk about regarding Forethought right now is the new ownership structure that we have in place, because it is relatively new. That deal closed back in January of 2014. So we're going on just 1 year of new ownership through Global Atlantic. Global Atlantic purchased us on January 2nd. A little bit about Global Atlantic. They're a spinoff of Goldman Sachs. They broke away from Goldman Sachs spring of 2013, and actually Goldman is still the largest shareholder within Global Atlantic. And Global purchased Forethought more for our retail footprint and to grow the annuity business. And as you can see through the LIMRA studies that we talked about at the start of the call, they are being very aggressive in the annuity space. The 3 takeaways of the acquisition are this. First and foremost, it is business as usual here at Forethought. We are maintaining the Forethought name. We're going to continue to issue policies on Forethought paper. And for you and your clients, it truly is a seamless transition as well as a complementary acquisition. Takeaway item number 2 is we are a much bigger company now. Prior to January 2nd of 2014, we were a $7 billion company. Now, under the Global umbrella, with $35 billion assets under management. So we are a much bigger company. With that, we have more resources, technology, and product development folks to tap into, and it's going to lead to bigger and better product initiatives going forward. You heard me mention with respect to who is Forethought and a little bit about our reputation that we're hyper competitive in the early income space. Look for Global Atlantic to want to play in other sandboxes on the playground. We want to grow the business, and we know in the early income space it's a finite business, so look for other product initiatives in 2015 and 2016. Specifically, we have 4 new products rolling out the month of June and July, so they are being very, very aggressive. Takeaway item number 3 of the acquisition, and this is something that we're very, very proud of, we maintained our A category rating. A- with AM Best. I've been in this business now for 21 years, worked at 3 different insurance carriers. At some point in time, all 3 carriers that I've represented were acquired at some point. This is the first time when that deal closed under new management that the ratings of that carrier did not go down. Typically, when an insurance company becomes acquired, more often than not, it means a slight downgrade to their ratings, but that didn't happen with Forethought last year, and that speaks volumes not only to our financial strength, but as well as Global Atlantic's. So that's a little bit about Forethought. I do want to just talk briefly about some changes in the industry, then we'll segue into the story with the 150 plus product. When you look at the industry in 2014, the indexed annuity space hit a record year in indexed annuity sales, $47+ billion. It was the 6th year in a row we had a record-breaking year. When you look at the top 2 carriers, the top 2 had 37% market share of that $47 billion. That's staggering. Now, since the start of the year, those top carriers have had significant changes to their indexed annuity lineup. One carrier specifically pulled their top-selling product mid-March. This was a product that was a top 3 seller over the last 3 years and gained $4 billion in premium over that stretch. Well, effective mid-March, that product is no longer available for new sales. That product was hyper competitive in the guaranteed income space. The other carrier had significant changes to their income story. They reduced their what I call their income engine. They increased some spreads on their uncapped strategies, and we're not immune to that as well, but ultimately that carrier was hyper competitive on an illustrated basis. And because changes to their spreads in the income story, they're not as competitive as they once were. The end results of that change, and change means opportunity, that it's highlighted the competitiveness of the Income 150 Plus product. This product has a unique income engine. It's hyper competitive in the early years in the guaranteed income space, and it is ultra competitive in the illustrated income story in the latter years. And just back up 90 seconds what I just mentioned, the top two carriers, one hyper competitive in the guaranteed income space, that product is no longer for sale. Another carrier that had two products that were the top selling in the industry, changes to the compensation, changes to the income story, changes to the accumulation story, and result of that, they're not as competitive as they once were on an illustrated basis. Now you take a look at the Income 150 Plus, the month of March, we had our best sales month ever here at Forethought. Not only did we have our best sales month ever, we had the most newly appointed agents the month of March, we had the most call volumes the month of March, and the most submitted business the month of March. Now here we are at April 22nd. We have surpassed all three lead indicators of sales with 1 week to go. And the bottom line is because of the 150 Plus product and the changes in the industry. So let's talk about that a little bit more in detail. As I mentioned, the Income 150 Plus does have a unique income story. There's no roll-up rate with the income benefit with this product like you see on other indexed annuities. What we do is we offer 4 income boosts within the first 10 years. The first 3 are contractually guaranteed, and the 4th income boost is linked to indexed earnings. So it's an illustrated income benefit in the latter years. We offer a very compelling uncapped crediting strategy. Volatility-controlled indices seem to be the buzz in the industry right now, and I truly believe our Barclays Armor 2 strategy is compelling, and the back testing of the strategy is very, very competitive. Also, we've recently enhanced the agent compensation package, so while other carriers are withdrawing from the marketplace or making significant changes, we're improving the compensation package to the producer, as well as improving the client value proposition, which we'll talk about as well. So let's look at a little bit at the product specs. And let's start at the bottom of the screen that you see in front of you. The product itself is a 10-year chassis, and issue age is 55 through age 80. The street-level comp is highlighted, and it's highlighted to remind you that we recently changed the street comp in light states. Light states typically have lower surrender charges for the clients, so more often than not, insurance carriers pay lower commissions in light states. 32% of our business comes from light states like Texas, Arizona, Washington, Utah. And in late 2014, we levelized compensation across the board. So another way to look at that, 32% of our producers got an uptick in their street comp in late 2014. So that's one of the compensation changes that we made to the 150 Plus story. We're going to talk about another one here in just a moment. The rider cost for the living benefit on the 150 Plus is 95 basis points. That's based off their income value and deducted out of the account value. Now let's focus on the 4 income boosts. The first 3 are contractually guaranteed, 20% at issue. So your client opens a policy today for $100,000, hypothetically. That means day 1, the client's income value is $120,000. At the start of year 3, 2 years and a day, they receive their second contractually guaranteed income boost of 15% of original premium. So 2 years and 1 day, the client's income value is guaranteed to be 135% of original premium. At the start of year 5, 4 years and 1 day, their third income boost of 15%. So 4 years and 1 day, guaranteed to have an income value of 150% of premium. So that's the guaranteed income story. The 4th income boost is the 4th bullet that you see there, and that's linked to indexed earnings. The more earnings that are credited to the account, the higher the income boost is going to be at the start of the 10th year. And we're going to give it an illustration here, a hypothetical, in just a moment for you all to visualize it. Well, the income boost story, the roll-up rate story with other products are only as strong as the income factors that back them up. And we here at Forethought believe our income factors are very competitive, and there you see them in front of you. Single life option, by example, starts at 4.3 at age 60, and they increase 10 basis points each and every year. Age 61, 4.4, 62, 4.5, so on. And they increase 10 basis points all the way through age 85, where it caps out at 6.8. Then from 85 through 90, they increase by 20 basis points and ultimately cap out at 7.8%. So let's put this income boost story to an example. Here you have Mr. Jones, your average indexed annuity consumer. He's age 70. He opens a policy with you for $100,000. As mentioned earlier, day one, they received their first income boost. So for Mr. Jones, his income value day one is $120,000. One of the unique features of Forethought's Income Suite is we do allow the client to activate their living benefit immediately, or essentially 30 days after their free look period. There's no one-year contract wait to trigger their benefit with the Forethought product lineup. If he triggers income day one, his income value or his income payment is going to be just under $6,400 in guaranteed lifetime income. Now, if he waits 1 year and triggers the benefit in year two, his income value is still $120,000, although his income factor increased by 10 basis points, so he would have a slight uptick to his guaranteed income, roughly around $6,500 per year. But if he waits to the start of year three, 2 years and a day, he receives his second contractually guaranteed income boost, and now we're going to pay out just over $7,400 in guaranteed lifetime income. Let's jump ahead 2 years. Let's just say Mr. Jones waits until the start of year 5. 4 years and 1 day, income value is $150,000. Multiply that by his income factor. Now we're paying out just under $8,600 in guaranteed lifetime income. This is one of the sweet spots with the Income 150 Plus. This is a guaranteed income story. So if you have a client that's looking to retire in a relatively short time frame, on a guaranteed basis, especially when comparing us to A-rated carriers, we're going to be number 1 or 2 on the income spreadsheets on a guaranteed basis. Once again, this is one of the sweet spots, and this is filling one of the voids with one of those major carriers through their products. This is one of the reasons why Forethought's business is up quite dramatically. A couple of takeaways from the slide that you see in front of you. Well, I want to point out these income boosts occur at the start of the contract year. Comparing that to a roll-up rate product where you may earn or your client may earn 7% compounded on their income base for 10 years with the restart benefit. That roll-up rate is typically recognized at the end of the contract year. I want to make sure it's crystal clear with everyone that these income boosts occur at the start of the contract year. That's why I'm saying things like in year 3 is 2 years and a day, or the start of year 3, start of year 5, or 4 years and a day. That's going to make a dramatic difference on the income spreadsheets if you're comparing the Income 150 Plus on a 4-year basis, comparing it to another product that's a roll-up rate product. Just want to make sure it's crystal clear that these boosts occur at the start, and that's meaningful on the spreadsheets. Takeaway item number 2 that I want to address, the income boost story is different than what else is out there in the marketplace. I encourage my producers and I encourage my clients to reverse engineer the income boost story and say, hey, what's the equivalent roll-up rate a client would have to earn to equal 150% of premium at 4 years and 1 day? It's right around 10.5%. And that's just another way to look at the income boost story. If you have a client that's looking for income within the first 4 to 5 years, you have a 10.5% compounded roll-up rate story from an A category rated company offering top-line income payouts to the clients out there. So it's just a different way to look at the income boost story, and you can certainly do the same, reverse engineer the income boost story for each and every year within the first 5 years. So that's the 150 of the 150 Plus. The Plus feature represents the 4th income boost, and the 4th income boost occurs at the start of year 10, 9 years and 1 day. So one of the compelling features of the feedback that we hear from our agents out there, they love the 150 Plus story because in the early years it offers a guaranteed income story. And I hear more agents say, hey, they're more inclined to consider a guaranteed income story if their clients are looking to take income within the first 5, 6, or 7 years versus one that links their income engine in the early years to the underlying performance. With the 150 plus story, you get the best of all worlds, a guaranteed income story for the first batch of years and an illustrated income in the latter years. So how does that fourth income boost work? What we do is in year 10, 9 years and a day, we looked at Mr. Jones's account value. How much in indexed earnings did he gain? So to our example, he put in $100,000. 9 years and 1 day later, his account value was $150,000. So he had $50,000 in index gains. So with the plus feature, what you do is you take the $50,000 in gains, multiply it by 150%, which of course equals $75,000, and add that $75,000 to his existing contractually guaranteed income value of $150,000. So in this example, 9 years and 1 day, his income value is $225,000. I want to recap that once again because I know it can get a little bit complicated. You simply take the gains, the indexed earnings at the start of year 10, take the gains, multiply it by 150%, and add that value to their existing income value. Now, I encourage you all to talk to the folks at Great Plains, and we'll share their contact information towards the end of the presentation, and have them run an illustration on the Income 150 Plus over the most recent 10-year stretch of the market. You'll be pleasantly surprised to see what the income value would be on an illustrated basis at the start of year 10. The top right-hand side of your screen, you see a starburst that says cap removed. When we made the commission changes, and we talked about one, we'll talk about another here in just a moment, we also improved the client value proposition. When we launched this product in November 2013, what we said is that fourth income boost can never result in an income value greater than 250% of premium. And it was sort of a good news, bad news situation. When we got the illustration system up and running in April of 2014, good news is that the product illustrated quite strongly. The bad news was, and I use the bad words with, bad news with air quotes, is that clients and agents don't like to be capped. So the performance was strong, but in April of last year, it was showing clients had an income value of 250%, which is great, but once again, they don't like to be capped. So we improved the client value prop, and we removed that income cap of 250% of premium. And for a good portion of 2014, if you ran an illustration over the most recent 10-year stretch, it was showing an income value between 255% to 261% of original premium at 9 years and 1 day. Now, market conditions have changed somewhat. We had an uptick in our spread in October of 2014. So the end result now is if you go on today and run an illustration 9 years and 1 day, it's right around 245% of premium, which still puts us number 1 or 2 on an illustrated basis on the income spreadsheet. So the 150 plus product, to break it down, I see that there's 3 sweet spots. First, on the income side, hyper competitive on a guaranteed basis, years 0 through 5. Hyper competitive on an illustrated basis, years 10 through 15. Now, that's not to say that the product's not competitive in years 6 through 9. It's just it's ultra competitive in those 2 sweet spots that I just gave you. Still very competitive years 6 through 9. On an accumulation basis, we do have many producers that like the Income 150 Plus as an accumulation story because of the performance of the Barclays Armor 2. And with that, I will tell you, this is an income product, but yes, the accumulation story is hyper competitive on an illustrated basis. What we're doing, one of the products I alluded to that we're launching in June and July is a pure accumulation product utilizing the Barclays Armor 2. So in June, look for a 10-year accumulation product with the Barclays Armor 2. In the month of July, look for 2 shorter-term duration products, perhaps a 6 and an 8-year term product with the Barclays story. That's the feedback that we've got from a lot of our producers. They want this strategy that we'll talk about on a pure accumulation product. So those are the 3 sweet spots: guaranteed income, illustrated income, and accumulation in all years. So let's talk about the Barclays Armor 2. As mentioned, volatility-controlled indices are the buzz in the industry. Some agents love them. Some prefer the more traditional strategies. For those, certainly you still have the annual point-to-point, the fixed option, and the monthly point-to-point with the cap with the 150 plus. If you like volatility-controlled indices, take a look at the Barclays. Talk to the folks at Great Plains. Request the marketing materials on the Barclays. We've done the back testing on this product, and the rolling annualized return over the last 15 years is 6.55%. So very, very strong. So let's talk about the Barclays ARMOR 2. The three pieces of feedback I hear most often from producers regarding this strategy. One, they say it's one of the more cost-effective options. Two, they like the diversification. And three, they say that it's quote-unquote more actively managed. Now, to understand those three pieces of feedback, you have to understand the philosophy of the Barclays ARMOR 2 crediting strategy. The philosophy is this. It's a momentum-based crediting strategy comprised of 6 different asset classes: stocks, bonds, emerging markets, gold, cash, and commodities. So momentum-based crediting strategy utilizing 6 different asset classes. And what they do on a monthly basis is they reallocate the top 2 performing sectors to a 60-40% blend. Meaning this, at the end of March, they identified the top 2 sectors, let's just say it was emerging markets and domestic equities, and that means for the month of April, it's a 60-40% blend to emerging markets and domestic equities. More often than not, when I give a presentation to producers or clients, they say, well, that feels a little counterintuitive. It's almost as if you're investing in the rearview mirror saying, hey, we're taking the best 2 from the prior month and reallocating to the current month to a 60-40% blend. Conceptually, I understand the question. The reality is an asset class or a sector is not going to be a top performer for a relatively short period of time, 3 or 4 weeks. Can it happen? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But historically, a sector or an asset class is a top performer or bottom performer for a longer term, 3, 4, 5, 7 months. And that's the purpose of the Barclays ARMOR 2. The analogy we like to use is one of a train ride. Let's just say there's 12 stops on the Barclays ARMOR 2 train ride. You may miss the first train stop because of the look-back approach, but you'll be on the train ride for the next 11 stops, and the Barclays ARMOR 2 will get your client to its destination. So that's the philosophy of the Barclays ARMOR 2. The strategy itself is a 3-year point-to-point with the spread. The spread on the high band is 5%, the spread on the low band is 7%, and the premium band is $100,000. So cases under $100,000, it would be a 7% spread. In cases over $100,000, it would be a 5% spread. So that's the strategy, 3-year point-to-point with the spread. And I just received a question. The 6.55% marketing piece that we have, that's assuming a 5% spread on the marketing piece. And I also had a question, why the Barclays over the S&P? We do have your traditional S&P options, the S&P annual point-to-point and monthly point-to-point with the cap. We're looking to do a little something different with the volatility-controlled indices, and we're looking to entertain other asset managers as well in 2015. So S&P we already have on your traditional strategies. We're just looking to bring something a little different and a different story with some other asset managers. So back to my 3 pieces of feedback. When I say it's more cost-effective, now keep in mind that spread of 5% occurs at the end of the 3-year cycle. When you look at some of the averages of the annual point-to-point spreads in the industry, they hover between 3.9 and 4.1 on an annual basis. The Barclays ARMOR 2 is 5% at the end of the 3-year cycle. So that's what I mean when agents tell me this strategy is one of the more cost-effective options. We understand that a 3-year point-to-point is not as ideal as an annual point-to-point for the client because their account value does not change for 3 years. But one of the benefits for them by going a little longer is they can have a more cost-effective and manageable spread. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, diversification. This strategy is comprised of 6 different asset classes. It's just not linked to a bond index or an S&P. It's 6 distinct asset classes. And a lot of agents like engaging their clients in that diversification conversation. The third takeaway, is that it's more actively managed. What I mean by that is it's reallocated on a monthly basis each and every month. So it's not a set it and forget it strategy. It's evaluated each and every month in the rebalancing as needed to the top two sectors. At the end of the day, the Barclays Armor 2, it's a unique story, and the past performance is strong. Talk to the folks at Great Plains and have them run you an illustration on the Barclays Armor 2. So back into the compensation story. We mentioned that we increased the street-level comp for 32% of our producers out there. Towards the end of 2014, we also improved the agent bonus program for the Income 150 Plus. When we launched this product, we had the bonus program. However, there were only 3 levels of bonuses. And in late 2014, we added a new threshold, which was the $3 million level. $3 million in 150 plus production will earn the producer an extra 2%. 2% of $3 million, $60,000. Just another way to look at it. So there's 4 production thresholds. The first one's at $750,000, earns the producer an extra half point, $1 million, a full point, $2 million, a point and a half, and as mentioned, $3 million is 2%. This, hands down, is the most lucrative agent bonus program in the business. I want to make sure it's crystal clear that this is not a deferred compensation plan. There's no vesting schedule. This is not a perks program. This is a cash bonus program that's paid quarterly. And oh, by the way, it's retroactive to $1. Another change that we made to the bonus program occurred in late 2014. When we launched this, it was a calendar year program. And of course, end of 2014, my phone and email was blowing up from my top producers saying, hey, I wrote $3 million in 2014, I wrote $4 million in 2014, and now come January 1st, everything's going to reset to 0, and I have to requalify for the program. We took that feedback and we instituted change. This bonus program is no longer a calendar year program. What we do is it's a 4-quarter look-back program. At the end of every quarter, we're going to look at the prior 4 quarters, and that's what you'd be paid out at. So the end of April, or excuse me, the end of March, we looked at your prior 4 quarters. If you wrote $3 million, you would have earned an extra 2%. So what this means to the producers, it just creates consistency, and they don't have to requalify each and every year, and it does not reset to 0. Bottom line, most lucrative bonus program in the business. So far today, we talked about the new direction of Forethought with Global Atlantic, the growth that we've been experiencing over the past several months. We talked about the sweet spots with the 150-plus product, killer guaranteed income story, great accumulation story with the Barclays Armor 2, and hyper-competitive illustrated income story in the latter years. We talked about the compensation changes, positive changes, and we talked about the positive changes to the client value proposition. Once again, other carriers are making changes. We're making improvements. Some other things I want to make you aware of from a service standpoint or an operational standpoint, we do have an online application for the Income 150 Plus product and the Income 150 Plus alone. The benefit on submitting applications online, first and foremost, it's going to reduce NIGO items, not in good order items. So if client's missing a signature or if the allocations don't add up to 100%, that would get kicked out. You wouldn't be able to submit it. So the benefit to the SNAP app, it streamlines the application, policies will be issued quicker, and you as a producer will get compensated quicker. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that tool that we have available. One of the other features that we have is a pre-suitability form. Every carrier treats suitability differently. We don't publish our guidelines. We look at each case on a case-by-case basis and say, hey, does this product meet the needs of the client? If it does and the financials are there, it should go through suitability without an issue. If there's ever a question of whether we're going to take the business or not, we do have a pre-suit form. You fill it out. There's only 4 sections. You probably know 90% of the information. It doesn't require a client signature. Fill it out as best you can, and within 2 to 3 hours, you'll get a response back saying, yes, based off the information provided, we're willing to accept the business, or no, we're not, because of X, Y, and Z. So what are the reasons why we would reject it for X, Y, and Z? Our 3 hot buttons with suitability are this. One relates to surrender charges. industry average is between 5 to 7%. We're at 10%. Anything over 10% surrender, more often than not, is going to be an automatic decline with us. We're a bit of an outlier at 10%. A lot of that has to do with our product lineup, where we have hyper-competitive income stories and income bonuses in the early years, where if you use one of our income products, despite a higher surrender charge, they may make that up with the income bonus, and we still may be more competitive than the product that they're currently utilizing. So 10% is the number. Actually, north of 10% is the number. Rule of thumb number 2 is we do want that second contract anniversary to be hit before recommending Forethought. Industry average is at 2. We're at 3. So if you have a client meeting tomorrow and that client opened up a variable annuity 14 months ago, that may have a tough time getting through our suitability team. We want that second contract anniversary to be hit. Rule of thumb number 3 relates to percentage of net worth. We're right at 50%. Generally speaking, we don't like to see greater than 50% of a client's net worth in a Forethought annuity. Now, it might be 2 or 3 percentage points higher for a younger individual or 2 or 3 percentage points lower for an older, but as a general rule, 50% is the number. So if there's ever a question of will we take the business or we won't, please take advantage of the pre-suitability form. It'll make your time and experience with Forethought a much more smooth process. There you have the number for Great Plains. Any questions on Forethought? If you'd like to become appointed, if you're not already appointed with us, give the folks at Great Plains a call at 800-710-1115, and certainly they would be happy to help you out. With that, Rob, I'm going to turn it back to you. If there's any questions, I appreciate, I certainly have time to answer them. If not, I truly do appreciate the opportunity that you've given me. I know I ran a few minutes late. I don't know what happened at the front end of the call with the audio. That's why we had to go a little late. But certainly do appreciate the opportunity, and I'll turn it back to you all.
Thanks so much, Bob. We really appreciate you presenting today. I want to thank everybody for their time that was spent on the presentation. I want to echo something Bob mentioned. Besides the impact and the power of the illustration, and please call our office, whether you're working on a case or not, avail yourself to see how strong this income play is with Forethought and where they're at, especially on the income early. Take a look at that, but they've also got great marketing materials and pieces that they have a Simply Speaking series, one on annuities and one on Social Security. If I was going to point of sale, these are great pieces to leave your prospects and your clients, and they do a really nice job with the marketing materials. Want to, again, encourage you, please pick up the phone, contact your Great Plains Annuity Marketing Specialist. They can give you more details on the rest of the product portfolio. We're really excited to have Forethought in our lineup. As Bob mentioned, the company is poised for great growth. Obviously, new products coming out later this year. You're going to want to be part of that. So reach out to us today, get more information, and as always, we thank you for your business. Have a great day.